The children have the right to be protected from all forms of abuse, neglect, exploitation, and violence. Republic Act No. 7610, which is also known as Special Protection of Children Against Child Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act, seeks to provide special protection for children from all forms of abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, and discrimination, and other conditions that may hamper the child's development. This law also includes programs for prevention and intervention in situations of child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination. It is important for teachers, especially early childhood educators, to be aware of this law so that the teachers will know what to do when they suspect any signs of abuse on the children that they are handling. On Article 1 and 2, it states that the state is responsible for the child when the parent, guardian, teacher, or person having care or custody to the child is unable to protect the child against abuse, exploitation, and discrimination. More so, when such act is committed by the parent, teachers, or guardian, the state will also intervene. The state is responsible for the children who are endangered by these circumstances. Every effort should be done to promote the well-being of the children, and the best interest of the child should be the utmost priority, whether it would be undertaken by the public or the private social welfare institutions. Now, let us proceed to the definition of terms. In this law, children refer to persons below 18 years of age. It also encompasses those who are over 18 but are not capable of defending themselves from abuse, neglect, exploitation, and discrimination due to physical and mental disability. On the other hand, child abuse includes psychological and physical abuse, neglect, cruelty, sexual and emotional abuse, and maltreatment. It also includes deprivation of basic needs such as food and shelter, words or deeds that degrade the dignity of the child as a human being, and also the inability to give the child medical treatment that resulted to serious damage on the child's health, that resulted to impairment of growth, or death. Circumstances that threatens and hampers the development of the child includes working under hazardous conditions, living in community under the verge of war, children living in streets without adult supervision, living under extreme poverty, and also victims of man-made or natural calamity. The program against child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination also includes services that protects the children against child prostitution and other sexual abuse, child trafficking, obscene publications, and indecent shows. Article 3 is mainly focused on the issue of child prostitution and other sexual abuse. Children who are exploited in prostitution or other sexual abuse are those individuals who engage in sexual intercourse and other lascivious acts due to profit, coercion, or influence of an adult or syndicate group. This applies to both males and females. Reclusion temporal or reclusion perpetual will be imposed to those people who act as a producer of a child prostitute, induce a person to be client of a child prostitute, take advantage of influence to procure a child as a prostitute, using violence to force a child to engage in prostitution, and to give monetary considerations or benefits to convince the child to engage in prostitution. On Article 4, it talks primarily on child trafficking. If a person engaged in trading or selling of children for money and other considerations, or barter, he or she is engaging in child trafficking. People who engage in child trafficking will be imposed with reclusion temporal and reclusion perpetual. However, if the victim is under 12 years of age, the penalty shall be imposed in its maximum period. On the other hand, Article 5 is dedicated for obscene publications and indecent shows. Any person who shall hire, employ, use, or persuade a child to perform in obscene exhibitions and indecent shows, whether live or in video, post or model in obscene publications or pornographic materials, or to sell or distribute the said materials, shall suffer the penalty of prison major in its medium period. However, if the victim is below 12 years old, again, the penalty should be imposed on its maximum period. Guardians who allow their child to perform obscene exhibitions and indecent shows will also be given prison major as a punishment. On Article 6, other acts of abuse are being tackled. If a person commits any act of abuse, cruelty, or exploitation, he or she will be charged of prison major in the minimum period to maximum period. This includes keeping the child in any public or private hotel, beer joint, cabaret, sauna, massage houses, and the like. It also includes delivering or offering the minor to anyone prohibited by the Act. If the perpetrator is the guardian, they will lose their authority towards the minor, and they will also receive perpetual major. In addition to this, those people who will use force to intimidate a street child or any other child, to beg as a means of living, act as a middleman in drug trafficking, and other illegal activities, will be charged of prison correctional in its medium period to reclusion perpetua. The victims of the act committed on this section will be entrusted to the care of Department of Social Welfare. Article 7 is about the sanctions for establishment or enterprises. On this section, it was said that all establishments and enterprises which promote or facilitate child prostitution and other sexual abuse, child trafficking, obscene publications, and indecent shows and other acts of abuse should be immediately closed, and cancellation of license to operate should also be immediately done. Article 8 is primarily concerned on working children. Children below 15 years of age are allowed to work, given that the employer shall secure a work permit for the child from the Department of Labor and Employment. The employer should also ensure the moral, safety, protection, and health of the child. They should also provide measures to prevent exploitation. And also, they should be the ones to formulate and implement a continuous program for training and skills acquisition for the child. Children are also not allowed to appear in advertisements that promote alcoholic beverages, tobacco and its byproducts, and as well as violence. Violation of any of these shall suffer imprisonment of not less than 3 months. Now, let us proceed to Article 9. This article is dedicated to children of indigenous cultural communities. This article provides indigenous children with protection, survival, and development of custom and traditions with respect to the community. The development of an alternative system of education that is at par with their culture and the needs is also a part of the right of the children of indigenous cultural community. This portion of the article will be carried out by the Department of Education. More so, this article entails the government agencies to give priority to the indigenous children for their basic health, service, and nutrition. Children from the indigenous group should not be subjected to any sort of discrimination. Doing so will entail the perpetrator to arresto mayor in its maximum period. Article 10 is primarily concerned with children in situations of armed conflict. On this law, it was mentioned that it is the responsibility of the state and all other sectors concerned to resolve armed conflict for the benefit of the children. Children should not be recruited as a member of the armed force. More so, they should not be an object of attack. Children should be the priority of public infrastructures, and it should not be used for military purposes. During armed conflicts, children are the first ones that should be evacuated. Article 11 talks about the remedial procedures. In case of unlawful acts committed against children, the offended party, parents, guardians, relatives of the child with the third degree, officers of social worker, barangay chairman, and at least 3 concerned citizens or a licensed child care institution are the ones who are allowed to file a complaint. During the process, the name of the offended party as well as the victim of abuse should be withheld from the public. We have to remember that ignorance is not an excuse. As teachers, we have to be familiar with all of these laws so that we will be able to do our duty as an educator to protect our students from abuse.